Okay, take two. Hopefully this is going live again. I'm going to start over. This video is going to be about dealing with a narcissist. You may be currently in a relationship with this person. They may be an ex. But either way, I'm going to tell you a story. This is the story of the scorpion and the frog. So imagine, if you will, there is a scorpion and a frog, and they're by a riverbank. Behind them is a forest, which is ablaze. And that burning forest is making its way to the riverbank, and if it comes all the way, it'll consume the scorpion and the frog. The scorpion says to the frog, "I can't swim, you can. Take me on your back. Swim us both across the river that we both may live." The frog thinks for a minute and says, "But you're a scorpion. If I take you on my back, you're going to sting me, and surely we both shall die." The scorpion says, "Frog, what are you thinking about? I don't want to die. Why would I do that? It's not in my interest to sting you. Please, take me on your back that we both may live." And the frog contemplates that for a moment, and it makes sense to the frog. And the frog, being nice, says, "Okay, scorpion, come. Get on my back and I'll swim us both to safety." And that's what they do. Halfway across the river, though, the scorpion stings the frog. And the frog shouts out, "Scorpion, why did you do that? Now we both are going to die." To which the scorpion responds, "I'm a scorpion." You have to know that when you're dealing with a narcissistic person. The gaslighting is trying to convince you they are something other than they are. They're a scorpion. Many of the folks that I meet and work with, they say, "But you know what? They have a nice side, and I just want to appeal to that nice side, because if I can always get that nice side, we'll have a great relationship, and that's what I love about this person." So I'm left explaining that we all have different sides. We have a nice side, and we have the other side that comes out when we don't get our way, when we're frustrated. In a reasonable person, those two sides are pretty closely aligned. Not so with the narcissist. With the narcissist, that is a nice side, and in fact, really nice typically. However, that really nice side is there to have you do their bidding. It doesn't really come from a good place. And when you don't do their bidding, that's when the other side shows. It's like a coin with a head and a tail. You cannot hold a coin without having both sides. For all of us, we all have two sides. But in a reasonable person, those two sides typically align. When we don't get our way, we don't go blaming, we don't go losing our minds, we don't engage in inappropriate behavior. We may express frustration, we may look for a way to negotiate, we may look for a way to compromise, we may look for a way to take turns. That's not the narcissist. They look to win. And so if this side doesn't work, I'm going to bring out that side. Why? I'm a scorpion. All of this side is to induct you into thinking that they're not a scorpion. And it is very inducting. It's like a shiny lure. It looks so nice. And here's the interesting part. The nicer we are as people, the more vulnerable we tend to be to this. And then when we get this side, we're shocked. We're in disbelief. Can't be true. And if the scorpion pushes this too far, they quickly flip to this side. "Oh, forget about that side. Forget about that side. Come back to this side." I apologize. You're great. I'll do this and that. And we get inducted. By the time you've gone through that once, twice, 2 times, 10 times, 20 times, they're teaching us they're a scorpion. So it's not about getting that person to change. It's about us coming to terms with and appreciating this is who they are. Scorpion and the frog. Challenge? Stop being that frog. And I get it, because the moment you set limits, boundaries, and expectations, you wind up being positioned as the bad one. That's part of the gaslighting and manipulative strategies. So the nice person, and I frequently see, these are nice persons, the frogs. You have to manage a boundary that sees that behavior for what it is. When there's that projection, you're the bad one. You have to recognize it as, there's the scorpion again, using me against myself. I'm looking at some comments, and one is, you don't change narcissists. You can only survive them. And it's a good comment. Thanks, Chris, and I'm glad you're watching. What does that say about us, those who come back to tolerate that side repeatedly? It can say one of a couple of things, actually. Sometimes if a person is emotionally vulnerable, they're inadvertently more susceptible. So you may have to deal, what is the source of my emotional vulnerability? Also, some people aren't, it's not that they're emotionally vulnerable, they're just really nice people. And to kind of set that limit in the face of somebody blaming you, it creates the conditions where you question yourself. And you have to appreciate that setting limits, boundaries, and expectations, you're not being not nice. You're now being self-protective. So you have to do that kind of shift in your own head, looking at your behavior. Looking at some of these other questions here. Where does this behavior originate? Chris, I love you. Yes, boundaries. Yes, Gary. Okay. How can you co-parent with the narcissist? Oh, these are excellent questions. Thank you. So where does this behavior originate? There's a lot of theories about that. Some will say it originates from one's own family of origin, typically in the youngest of child, the preschooler, the toddler, the child who wasn't told no, that is always getting their way, or the child that always has to fight for that attention because neither parent is available, and so they just do what serves themselves as a result of that lack of love and parental availability. Those are some theories. But theories don't change behavior. The other thing about these persons, for a reasonable person, we all have a mirror. What do I mean by that? I can reflect on myself. I can say, oh my goodness, I'm not acting nicely. And it's a reasonable mirror. For the narcissist, they don't have that mirror. Their mirror is weird. They look at themselves and they say, I'm fine just the way I am. If that's what their mirror reflects, why change? They're not great candidates for therapy because of that. The person who's a better candidate for therapy is somebody who can look in themselves in the mirror and says, you know, there's something off with this. I'm in distress. I'm doing something wrong. Help me with that. I'm looking off to the side because I'm reading some of the questions that are coming to me. How do you co-parent? How do you co-parent with a narcissist? First of all, you have to be clear about your limits, boundaries, and expectations. You have a front door, you may not be letting them in. Some of these persons are so manipulative, they may be setting you up, seeking to provoke you, to catch you, these days on video or audio recording without your knowledge, and then they go, ha ha, gotcha, and they use it against you. I've seen those situations countless of times. However, if you are caught, you got to know that those tapes actually work on your favor. You can say, this is the harassment, abuse, and setup that I live with daily. This is the emotional and psychological manipulation. So as much as it looks like a reflection on me, what you're catching is my exasperation to abuse perpetrated by the other person. So that is how you use that material in your favor, even when supposedly set up to use against you. So in terms of working with a narcissistic person, we want those boundaries. This is where parallel parenting comes in as best as possible. What happens in your place is in your place. What happens in my place is in my place. Child sometimes comes home and says, other parent says you're a this and other parent says you're a that. We don't get inducted. We say, well, other parent says this and that about me. I guess they don't like me. Come, let's make dinner, sweetheart. So I don't need to defend myself against nonsense. And the child sees me take that assault that's coming through the child. I don't get mad at my former partner. I don't get mad at the child. I put it in a perspective that says, yeah, some people don't like me. And we go off to make dinner. I'm now redirecting that child so that the child's experience of me speaks more volumes than any bad mouthing they may hear. That's how we co-parent. We always are managing ourselves. Man, otherwise we're forever on the agenda of the scorpion. That's exhausting. Leave them be. They're scorpions. They'll always try to sting you. And in fact, the more they know they can sting you, the more they're going to sting you. So I'm going to bring this to a close. Just a quick lesson, message about narcissists. To have a perspective when you look at them so that you no longer see that as a reflection on yourself. That helps us when we set those boundaries. That helps us when we're stunned. And that sting can be a direct assault, it can be indirect, it can be a projection. That's always about them. So the degree to which we can differentiate and go, oh yeah, I learned about that. And look, there it's happening. I don't need to get agitated. I don't need to get upset. I don't need to answer that. You're this and that. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? You come back and say, okay, I've heard all that. I just need to know whether or not you're still coming Friday at 6. Well, what do you say? Because I say you're this and blah, blah, blah. I said, well, I get it. You have lots of views about me, but, let me know if you're coming Friday at 6. If I don't know by Thursday at 5, I'll assume not, and we will have gone on to other things. I'll send that to you in an email just so that so that we both know that. And we'll take it from there. Maybe they'll show up Friday at 6. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll say, I'm going to sick my lawyer on you. And you say, oh, okay. Really? Really? Bully tactics, fear tactics. They're scorpions. We let their behavior speak for themselves so that we're not inducted and, when we're driven nuts, crazy. I'm using that in colloquial terms, not in mental health terms. But when we're driven to distraction, they don't get to use that against us. And now that we know this, maybe we won't be as driven to distraction. They'll throw all this stuff against the wall, and we're like Teflon. Oh yeah, Darrenfeld, Gary, he said there'd be days like this. Said this person would do these things. Wow, look at them do it. And we're now detached. It doesn't work. I hope this talk was helpful, and I'll consider doing some more. Maybe you'll email me or put in the comments, not by email, put in the comments other things that you may like to hear. Please know that if you ever do email me, I cannot read lengthy emails. I can't. I'm overwhelmed by them. And when I say overwhelmed, I receive many lengthy emails regularly. I don't have the time to read them through. And it's not that I don't care. That's me setting limits, boundaries, and expectations. I can't manage that work on top of truly doing this or my real day job. So if you send an email, it has to be brief. If you're making a comment, sure, it can be lengthier because there's, that's for the sake of other people as well. And I do appreciate how my Facebook page is used as a source of information, sharing, support, where people are commenting, adding to the discussion, and adding resources. So hopefully this was of value. I'm going to sign off. I wish you well.